Good afternoon. Welcome, Michelle. Happy to have you here. So, for everyone that is listening, Michelle is a licensed clinical social worker with 25 years of experience, and it is in coaching, psychotherapy, specializing in certain things like addictions, mental health, eating disorders. I'm going to pause here to pass it over to you, Michelle, and feel free to provide any specific in-depth comments on your background, what you're doing, what you're focusing on, and then we'll dive into our conversation.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me here. This is so lovely. Um, I love to be able to kind of have these interactions and talk about healing in all sorts of ways. But yes, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been doing coaching work for the last close to 25 years. I'm also a psychotherapist, specialized in eating disorders, addictions, and chronic mental health issues. I tend to work with a lot of folks post-treatment and help them reintegrate back into the life that they're hoping to get into so that they don't get themselves into back into treatment or hospital-like settings. Nobody likes to be in those environments, even though they can be healing at times. And so I'm a pretty action-oriented support, and I offer people in person and travel to them wherever they are. So I've got a team in Los Angeles and Kansas City and St. Louis.
Amazing. Thanks, Michelle.
Mhm.
And obviously, while reviewing your profile, when we discussed certain topics offline, you mentioned you are doing creative healing. So, for anyone listening to us, let's just mention to them, like, what is it all about, how it works, and anything else that you want to highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of years ago, I kind of nosedived into some personal challenges. My husband had moved to Japan, and all of a sudden I found myself with being a single mom overnight and trying to juggle my business. And so I was looking for some creative supports for myself. And so in the process, I've now kind of expanded out and sharing all the resources with other people. So what I had started was a creative healing podcast to educate not only my colleagues, but clients and the public about different creative healing out there. And the healing that I'm talking about isn't necessarily from medical doctors or therapists like myself or coaches. It's from other different modalities that don't necessarily need a college degree for. So we're looking at things like reiki healers, medical qigong, acupuncturists, naturopathic healers, astrologers, mediums, all these different people and how they can support us in different ways and better understanding ourselves and soothing some of our wounds and helping us to emotionally regulate. So I have all these different beautiful people on my podcast. My personal challenges also help me begin to launch out nurturing networking events for healers and for people in the healing profession. And what that is a 2-hour event where we do some traditional networking, like any kind of networking group would look like, but we actually add in a holistic healer that educates us about what they do and then puts us through an experiential. So, for example, we've had nurturing networking with sound baths, with Reiki healers, with a medical Qigong facilitator. So it's a great opportunity to nurture and self-care while you get to connect with others and market yourself. So been doing that now for the last couple of years as well. And then I guess my last kind of creative healing project that's been really fun that I think can be very useful for the public is I'm launching as of next Wednesday, the 29th of October, Halfour Haven. Halfour Haven is a 30-minute insert into your week every Wednesday. It'll be 1 o'clock Central Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And it's an opportunity to insert a guided meditation into your week where you can pause, whether you're sitting at your desk like I am right now, or if you're on the floor with your kids, or if you're at the park, you can plug in And we will, myself and a Reiki healer will be facilitating this beautiful opportunity to probably do a 10 to 12 minute guided meditation with some music and have a check-in, check-out, so that people have the opportunity to see what it feels like to kind of just pause and self-reflect, which we all, including myself, struggle with. And that'll be a
Yes,
good.
I agree. Sorry
Mhm.
to cut you off, Michelle.
Yes, no, yeah, please share. I mean, when you're working in a very fast-paced job like yourself, it's got to be hard to kind of just check in. So, yeah, we're hoping to kind of catch people like you that might be able to kind of just plug in for a minute, and see what it feels like, and
Yes,
how.
I think that's an amazing approach. It's great because, as you say, we just tend to be busy. We're just on the go. And sometimes we don't have this time that we say, okay, let's take this as a moment to pause, to
Mhm.
reconnect, to recharge. So it's great that you have this launching coming up. So it's a great thing to just take on. It's something quick, but obviously, I'm sure the results would be great as you go and you take this time to reflect, to pause, to connect, right?
Yeah.
So it's great to have this approach. Thanks for sharing, Michelle.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful too to be in community, right? Because you could use an app. Like I can use an app right now when I get off a call and be like, okay, I'm going to do a guided meditation. But sometimes it's hard to do that, without having accountability. And I think having like plugging in and going, okay, I'm going to register for this guided meditation. It sometimes is helpful to see other faces, as well if you want. And it's not required. You can keep your video off, like if you're in your work environment, but it is kind of nice to know there's others joining. Yeah.
Yes, and also having someone that has this professional background that can help you to support you and guide you through it. It's also really helpful. As you mentioned, it can be done on your own, but you don't have that commitment. Sometimes you can be like, okay, maybe I'll do it later or tomorrow because I find I'm too busy right now. But if you have this commitment, you have others that will keep you accountable, and you know you're going to have maybe make the best out of those 30 minutes rather than sometimes looking and trying to find
Mhm.
something specifically that will work. It's something that it'll be easier. Just
Mhm.
go with emotion and let things happen and focus on just being there and taking this pause.
Yeah, and there's a little interaction time for people that want to kind of check. We'll have a little bit of opportunity to check in and check out, So I think that's also nice too, to have that interaction where you could say, "Wow, that was a really neat experience, and I want to check in about that," or whatever it might be. So yeah, excited to launch that.
Yes, that's a great idea, and
Mhm.
obviously, I'm sure you'll have lots of great
Mhm.
turnover. So or turn up. So the other thing that I wanted to ask, I know you mentioned these networking or nurturing networking events. So for those ones, how is it like? Is there specific ones that you have already
Mhm.
planned or outlined, or how can others know where those will happen and how does it work?
Yeah, it's on my website. They're posted. They're right now. I'm just hosting them in Los Angeles, St. Louis, and Kansas City areas. However, in the new year, I will be doing day-long conferences. I think it'll be nurturing networking, but gone bigger, where I'll have like a full day of different holistic healers and networking opportunities, just because people are really wanting more than just a 2-hour event. So I'll be opening that up. Um, it might be to like a bigger audience too, not just to professionals in the healing community, but to folks like in the financial. I have actually a couple of people from the financial industry showing up to these nurturing networking events because they're just curious on, how to heal in these different ways. So it'll definitely be more open to the public. And then eventually in 2027, I'll be launching retreats. So if you kind of continue to track me, I'll be going abroad. Next year, I'll be going to actually Portugal,
Nice.
um, and co-hosting a walking retreat. So anybody that likes to walk and be in community and self-improve in a beautiful place in Portugal off the coast, my website will have links for that too.
Okay, perfect. That was my next question. We're sharing your socials, your website information below, but just to make sure where's the best way to
Yeah.
to follow you and to know what's happening and what's next, because someone might be interested in this Portugal event and whatnot. So perfect. Thank you for letting us know. So either your website will be the source of truth. That will be the best way to know.
Website. Yeah. If you want to get on our newsletters, where, you can email us, Instagram. Yeah. LinkedIn.
Perfect. Okay, any of the ones below. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And obviously, throughout this time and what you've experienced, as you mentioned, I had the opportunity, or I was working at a large bank a couple of years ago, and I do remember my manager. He was focused more on this holistic approach, and he always came into the meetings, and he was, before we do anything happens, let's take this minute, these 2 minutes of connecting, of having a break. And it really had an impact and a difference in like anyone attending the meeting. It was like, what's going on, like switching gears, why aren't we focusing on just like go and do whatever we have to go and hammer out throughout the meeting. And it was interesting how maybe the energy and the way others interacted changed, and they did appreciate like taking these 2 minutes before starting the meeting. Had a change. So when you mentioned like the financial sector and whatnot, it's totally worthwhile exploring, and I find it might have great results.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've had I've had people from a lot of lawyers, almost every sector is struggling, to kind of find that work-life balance. So I think being able to open it up to more than just the healing profession will be very useful. And honestly, like all the professions are healing in different ways, right? Like we need attorneys to help us, and we need financial advisors and agents like that, and health insurance agents, all the things, right? So I think that's an important element. And I love that your boss integrated that into meetings, because I think that's so important to find very simple things. Like I've got on my desk right now, I've got oracle cards and, self-improvement cards and different kind of stones and rocks to kind of help me plug in during the day. So if I'm feeling a little stressed out, I can kind of hold on to my amethyst crystal or my focus rock I've got here, and kind of take a moment to myself and rub on it for 30 seconds and switch gears. So, I'm not just in that robotic kind of way that sometimes we get caught into the loop in.
Yes, totally. I agree. And that's good to have these specific, it could be mantras, it can be objects, like things that will help you pause, reconnect, find that route. Okay, along the way. Thanks, Michelle. And I know like on your website, when I was looking into it, there's a couple different things as well. So just to make sure anyone in the audience is aware, you have like individual specific support, let's say for mental health. There's also more like life skills group. So that will be more like for maybe, as you said, like in a company or business driven kind of focus. That could be another option. I'm just trying to figure out like which are the things that will apply to anyone listening to us. And if they want to explore and learn more, it's obviously the best place to reach out through your website. But if there's anyone that you want to maybe provide a bit more in-depth or may create that awareness, sometimes we don't even know there's specific support tools and coaching on your end that might be really helpful to learn.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a listener and you have a family member that's struggling and you are trying to figure out a game plan of what to do, I'm definitely a good entry level to help figure out what kind of plan might work best for your loved one. I do a lot of we call it family coaching work, where you can, I sit down with the family or with individuals and then gather enough information to help come up with, like, we call it a treatment plan, where, there's resources available for your loved one, let alone for yourself. And then if you are somebody that is struggling and realizing you are wanting to find a creative solution for yourself, I'm definitely a good entry point to figure out whether coaching is a good avenue or if there's other supports out there, because I'm very well networked and resourced in a lot of different states and countries, and will help you find a resource that will work for you so you don't have to suffer as much. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, and I can pretty much cover couples, uh, and when I say mental health, it means like, are you feeling really anxious? Like anxious to the extent that it's affecting your day-to-day life, or if your depression has gotten ahead of you, or if you're drinking, maybe, you're not sure you're an alcoholic, but, you realize you might want to slow it down, or whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be like what you see in the movies. This is really about your life and what kind of functionality you want to have and what kind of peace and joy you want to discover. And so I'm definitely, and I look beyond just medical supports. I will go, we'll look, at different areas depending on what you're open to. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like a lot, like your life is a journey, not a destination. So something that I can really relate to, and I've learned lots through my lifetime. And as you grow, as you develop, you go through different phases, certain things that come that you maybe didn't account for to happen, but that's when it can be the right time to figure out, do I feel like I'm like right this way? Have I lost this joy, this spark in life, right? So sometimes it's not something that it's totally noticeable, as you mentioned. If you know you have more of an addiction, it's easier to identify in a way, but other times it can be like maybe you're not enjoying as much things, or you're just going through the motions. So probably it's interesting to know, learn more what resources are available, how can you spark that light, that feeling of, okay, I'm in peace, I'm not anxious. There's so many things that obviously happen throughout our lifetime, that it's good to know there's someone like you that can help reconnect, to find sometimes these couple minutes, as you say, the half an hour in your week that will make you feel energized, that will give you a focus. And sometimes just having this reset time also helps to drive things and say, okay, maybe I'm just getting too caught up into daily chores, and I'm not thinking more of what I have acquired through my day-to-day life or my family, things to be thankful for. So
Yes.
that's great.
Yes, absolutely. I think that I've been attracting a lot more people that on paper, everything is okay, right? Like they have a successful job and they have the resources, and they're married or they're with kids or without kids. But there's this feeling that there's a misalignment. They're not feeling like they're fully aligned with what direction they're going in their life, and they're wanting some support and resourcing to feel reconnected. And so that's where I think the creative healing supports can be even more powerful, in helping people get to know themselves in a deeper level, than they think they know. So yeah, if you're feeling that kind of lost free fall, like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, even though like everything's okay, like what typically is okay in our society or in our culture. Don't ignore that feeling, that nudge. That's really your spirit kind of coming out saying, hey, don't ignore me. Like it's not just about the checklist of what we're supposed to be doing in this life. We have other missions, and you can get more connected to that part of you if you just pause and take some time. And I'm here to kind of make you with the supports that might be useful for you. Thanks for bringing that up. That's a really good point.
Thanks, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
And probably, I know soon we'll be wrapping it up, but we are already providing links to your website to follow you, socials. And two things probably that I want to cover before we're done. One would be, is there any specific things? I know you have like this virtual support, which is technology kind of
Mm-hmm.
in that line. Is there anything else you find with technology will be really helpful with your practice, with your clients? Let's say maybe with this 30 or half an hour reset you're doing, there's a Facebook group. I'm just pointing that out. Like if there's something specific, this technology that might be helpful for them along the way, or specific support on, let's say, a family that is going through a hard time, and then how this piece of technology or support throughout the time goes along.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest piece would be getting the word out there. So the marketing, the virtual marketing. I think a lot of people in my profession, we really struggle. My foundation of my business was grassroots. I was having coffee date after coffee date and going to marketing events and things of that nature. It was all in person. And obviously, if I'm, especially with this Halfour Haven that I've created, I definitely want to get it out to more of a mass audience, because I feel like a lot of people, it's not a niched market. It's really for a lot of people, a lot of different kinds of people. So I think the virtual marketing, maneuvering through social media in an authentic way is a big one for myself. And I know for many of my colleagues, we're all trying to find authentic ways to use it. So I think those would be the two biggest. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. And as you mentioned, probably elaborating on your Halfour Haven,
Mhm.
it's great the reach you can have and how many people can connect at once, no matter the zone they live, the time zone and whatnot. Like they can just connect and think, and that's the beauty of having tools available, and for
Mhm.
you as well to replicate yourself in a way, right? And expand the reach you have helping others.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, thank you, Michelle. Is there any maybe a quick uh, thing that someone listening right now can remind, maybe a mantra, a phrase, or a question they might need to make to themselves today to see how they're doing, if there's something that is lingering and that can help them go through it?
Um, I think the power, and this might seem really simplified, but the power of our breath and coming back to our breath um, in the midst of our day can be a really amazing mindful technique, which means if you're feeling stressed, just take a moment and take 3 breaths, count them. Um, that can really shift things pretty quickly. And I think also, don't postpone help and support, because there's just so many amazing resources out there that are at your tips. Um, and there's no reason that you need to live a life that doesn't align or you don't feel joy. We all deserve joy. Even in the midst of stressful times culturally, we still can have joyful moments. And we need that. We need that to heal our communities um, and all over the world. We all deserve that.
Thanks, Michelle. I agree with you on that we all deserve it and we need to be proactive about it, right? So just putting some of that effort on time rather than waiting and then having to make more of an effort and work and rediscover lots of things
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes.
Okay. A pleasure having you, Michelle. Have a great afternoon. Talk to you soon.
Yes. I appreciate you. All right. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.